Welcome back. The show's called Brand Equity and I'm Sonali Krishna. Now, mobile advertising is something we're all being told is the future. Despite that, very few, be it in India or globally, have managed to crack that magic formula. The fact is that mobile advertising today is still largely display, intrusive, and many have not figured out how to leverage this potent personal device. So when Karim Temsamani, Google's sales and operations APAC head, was visiting India, I decided to catch up with him on just that. Karim, just to let you guys know, previously was also Google's global head of mobile and was in charge of providing advertising services and solutions to thousands of advertisers, developers and publishers. So who better than Karim to tell us whether mobile is currently being done justice to or not? Well, on that note, thank you so much for joining us, Karim. Truly a pleasure to have you on Brand Equity.
Thank you very much, Sonal. Great to see you.
Karim, you know, everybody's been talking about mobile and really going gaga over mobile. The fact is, do you really think mobile advertising is at an inflection point, if at all, from both the marketers' and consumers' point of view?
That's a great question, Sonal. Listen, I think you've got to look at it at the two different lenses, from a consumer perspective and from a business perspective separately. The question of whether mobile is here or not, I think has been completely answered from a user perspective over the last year. It's very clear that mobile is here and here now. When you look at the devices that are really important to users, where they're spending most of their time on, it's clearly the mobile device. They're using it at all times during the day. They're certainly using it when they're consuming other media. And I think we all have anecdotes ourselves.
Absolutely.
where we know, because consumers are so demanding and wanting immediate answers to all the questions, if you're at a dinner with friends and you don't have an answer to a question, you use your mobile device to find this answer. And it's clear when you look at consumption patterns all around the Asia-Pacific region, but also around the world, that mobile is the primary device that matters most to consumers. Does it mean that businesses have caught up to it? No, certainly not. There's a great gap in between the amount of time people spend on mobile devices and the amount of money that businesses spend reaching consumers on those devices. And there's a gap that must be closed. It must be closed because it means that currently the information that is accessible for consumers on mobile devices is not always the best information they should have access to. Sometimes the sites or the apps are not good enough. They're too slow, they don't have the relevant information. So therefore, what you would definitely say is that consumers are there. They're accessing information on mobile devices and it's the most important device to them. However, businesses are really far behind the consumer trends from that perspective.
Right, Karim, when I met Bonin Bo of Mondelez, he was rather candid. He said marketers using measurement complexities as, an excuse to avoid mobile are lazy. Do you think that might be the reason why marketers, are shying away from mobile and they should possibly be focusing more on mobile despite having no real concrete measurement metrics?
Yeah, I think, first, Bonin is an excellent marketer and probably one of the most progressive marketers around. So I think a lot of what he says is very right. And the dangers that we see is that, it's a lot easier for people to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And the problem with that is that they often do what has made them successful as a person or as a company in the past. And when you do that, you don't really pay attention to the key trends that are happening at user level. And I think that's what Bonin is alluding to. You really want to make sure that you understand where users are going. And true, all the metrics may not be set on mobile now and may not allow you to measure every interaction in the way you would like to. But regardless of that, users have moved, and therefore it's very important that you move your brand fast and figure out those metrics and interactions at a later stage. Otherwise, you're going to miss out compared to many brands who are ready to make the steps earlier.
Right, Karim, but you have to agree, if you look at mobile advertising today, the formats are embarrassingly poor in terms of sheer creative ad formats. I mean, honestly, what marketers are really trying to do is just shrinking that banner ad to fit a phone screen, which is, neither helping the brand nor really helping to gain consumer attention. What do you think?
Well, what I would say is that there's a vast amount of different formats that are being tried on mobile devices. And what's most important is really to get the feedback from users and understand which formats are working and which aren't. Part of the issue with regards to many of the formats that currently exist is that they've been essentially taken from a desktop and moved onto a mobile screen. And the screen is different. The expectation and interaction that people want to have with their mobile devices is very different. So we need to be better as an industry to create the ad formats that are going to be most relevant for users. And the reality is that mobile devices provide with a wonderful opportunity to provide better interaction at user level. So, you have, thanks to the mobile sensors, the ability to know the user location, and therefore you can surface information that is far more relevant to users. You have the ability to understand which direction people are moving in or looking at, and therefore you can essentially provide information that is more relevant to users with regards to the aspect the mobile devices are looking into. So you need to use these sensors to provide better information to users as they are on their mobile device. And when we do that, we actually create formats where there's far greater engagement and much better engagement from users, much better interactivity with users, meaning the users love the formats and advertisers ultimately get better results.
Karim, can you give me a sense of how APAC is doing in terms of sheer sophistication and understanding of mobile as a medium, and how do we really stack up against, let's say, the rest of the world?
Well, again, I'd go back to some of the earlier statements. I think that APAC is actually at the forefront in many different aspects when it comes to mobile. It's definitely at the forefront of the world with regards to how users are engaging with mobile devices. From a user perspective, I think APAC users are going to teach the rest of the world how to create for mobile in the future, and obviously that's going to have implications for marketers. I think because mobile is so important to APAC, many companies in APAC actually already lead the way. When you see some of the work that many companies, including Google, are doing with new applications that are being created for mobile devices, when you see that actually many products have flipped to mobile rather than desktop across the region, you understand very quickly that APAC has the ability to lead the way at a global level with regards to how mobile devices are being used for users and for advertising.
Karim, can you cite examples of brands that have made some seriously cutting-edge mobile campaigns that have really engaged the consumer?
Of course. We've seen brands like Uniqlo, for example, in Japan, creating an app that allows users to create their own T-shirt. So again, really providing a very strong level of engagement for users, and they've been driving this app to many users in Japan with great success because the app provides a very strong engagement. We've seen car companies in the US essentially provide the ability to look into the car from an ad perspective. So essentially an ad format that allows you to not only see a video of the car, but get into it, and then even essentially choose your different colors with regards to the outside or inside of the car, and custom set your car before you can go to one-click purchase on the car. So all of these formats that are essentially creating the ability to provide engagement directly within the ad are providing great success for many companies. And I think we're starting to see more and more of these formats and engagement happening across the region.
Do you think the ability for mobile companies outside of Google to grow is exceedingly difficult?
I think that the ecosystem is actually changing incredibly rapidly. We're seeing great mobile companies being started everywhere around the world. I'm actually incredibly excited about all of the companies that I'm seeing in India that are starting with a mobile-first world. I'm seeing many other companies across the region actually starting with mobile, not as a key part of their offering, but as the only part of their offering. And I think there'll be many companies very successful in the ecosystem, and we want to make sure that there's actually a very thriving mobile ecosystem where many different companies are represented and have the ability to be greatly successful for users. And I think we'll see tremendous competition, and a lot of it coming from this region, which is great.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, Karim. This was truly insightful, and thanks very much for joining us on Brand Equity.
Thank you very much. I look forward to it.